Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be building a calculator in iOS. We're going to do this whole thing in this video. We're going to be using Xcode and we're going to be using Swift as our programming language. Let's get started so that I don't waste any time. The product name is just going to be Calc iOS. You can name it whatever you want. We don't need any of these. We'll use the storyboard. We're not going to use Swift UI. Swift UI is pretty cool, but I don't think too many people are going to be using it in like actual work projects, so I'm just gonna do this on the storyboard. Okay, and we don't need any of this. Let's go to our storyboard, and there we are. I'm gonna switch this to an iPhone 11. The Pro Max is just a little big, and that's what it is down here. Good. Okay, so I guess we are good. Cool. And let's do a split. So if you want a split screen on here, you just click this little button right here and another storyboard will come up, but you just click on this screen and then hit view controller, and now we have our view controller. Now if you're wondering what the view controller is, the view controller, if you've never worked in any type of Swift and Xcode programming before, or actually even if you did Objective-C, so any type of Apple iOS programming, you have a view controller over here. Now this view controller basically will control all of our views, and we can get our views from this Object Explorer up here, and basically we can get a label, a button, all this stuff, switcher or switch, slider, progress view, all the cool things. Okay, so basically what we need to do first is let's come over here, click on, now make sure you're clicked on your storyboard, click on this plus, and we're just going to drag a label over. All right, we're going to put it up there. And for right now, we will we'll leave the color. And let's just make the font size a little big. So we'll jump it up to like 32, something like that. Then we'll come down to this right here, this where it says label, and we're just going to type 0. All right, and we'll come back to this later. We can actually make that a little bit bigger, and then we're basically going to ignore this for a little while. What I also want you to do is stretch it out like this. All right, and touch it to the end. So use the little white squares and stretch it all the way until you see the blue line ends. Okay, and if you want to, actually no, we'll save that for later. I was going to set the constraints. We'll do that later. Click on this and then set the alignment to the right. Okay, so now it's over to the right. We're going to click on our background here. All right, and over here, this is, I didn't really explain this, but basically what this is over here, it allows us to change basically properties on our UI fields over here. So, and anything we put inside of our view for this label, you saw we could change the font size. So now I'm just clicking on the background here, this whole background view, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the background to black. Okay, now you'll see that our 0 is gone. That's just because it was black also. So you can either click on it right here and you can find it, or if you can't find it, something you can also do is you can click on this little pane down here and just click on the 0 and that'll select it for you. Okay, so this is kind of where you can select all your different things that are on the storyboard right here. What we're going to do is we're going to set this color to white. All right, good. Awesome. So now what we need to do basically is just get a bunch of buttons, and let's do that now. So what we're going to do is come back up to our Object Explorer. Let's grab a button and let's throw it on the screen. Okay, and now real quick, what we're going to do is set it up so that this button will look like a calculator on the actual iOS app. So you can look that up if you want. I'm just going to make it somewhat resemble that. I'm not going to get too crazy about the styling, otherwise we'd waste more time styling and we would hardly do any coding. Okay, so for this button, I'm going to stretch it. Well, actually I don't really need to stretch it, but I will just for the sake of having a good visual. I'm going to make it 80 by 80, and you can actually do that over here. So this little ruler basically will allow you to change the height and the width. So we're going to do 80 by 80, and we actually want this button to be a perfect circle. All right, you don't have to choose 80. We could actually do it a cooler way, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but we're not going to do it that way just to save some time. We also want to click on this button. We want to go back to this little shield type looking thing, and we want to go to the background color, and we're going to make that gray. All right, and then we are going to want to make the text color white. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, we're going to tap on that button, we're going to Control C, and then we're going to paste it 3 times. So now we'll have 4 buttons. We're going to line them up like this. And there we go. Looks good enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called a stack view. So we're going to hover, we're going to take our cursor, we're going to drag through all of these buttons down at the bottom. We're going to hit this little thing that looks like an arrow pointing down, and we're going to hit stack view. Now if you're not using, that's okay. I expected that. Don't worry about that. If you're not using Xcode 11, it might look a little bit different than that, but look for where it says stack view. Okay, so now all of our buttons really shrunk down. That's okay. Basically, we just need to add a constraint for them. So a constraint basically says that, hey, our button has to be this amount of width and height. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to 80, and we're going to set the height to 80 as well. All right, and we'll add 2 constraints. Actually, what I should have done before was I should have, and I'll do that now. You know what? No, that's fine. I kind of messed up a little bit, but that's fine. So what we actually want to do is we want to set all of these buttons to have a constraint of a width of 80. Okay? And the reason for that is because, as you see now, the buttons are the size we want. So basically before the stack view was shrinking them down because we didn't have a set constraint size. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to hover over this stack view, or you can just click it right here. We're going to copy, and we're actually going to paste this stack view 3 times. So I'm going to drag this down. Now a stack view basically just allows us to have things in a stack, as you might imagine by the name, and it allows us to view elements inside of a stack. So it's useful for a lot of things, not just for a calculator, and you're welcome to explore them on your own if you'd like to. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hover over all these buttons. We're going to come back down here, click on that arrow, and we're going to click stack view once again. Okay, and that's pretty good. Now we need to click on the whole stack view. Okay, and we're going to go to the this one right here. We're going to set the left and the right to 20 pixels. That works. That's pretty good. We'll add the 2 constraints. Okay. And we'll hold off on the width and height for now. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to click on this here, and we're going to select this one here, which allows us to horizontally center in the container. So if we do that, we'll have a blue line going down. Now we have a red line here, which, let me run this real quick. So I'm going to run that real quick. My simulator is going to come up. I don't know what they're unhappy about there. Oh, you know what the problem is? We don't have anything going down, of course. So let's come here. 76 is fine. That's going to be a little further than I'd like it to be, but that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's a little further than I want it to be, but we'll make it work. So basically, I'm just going to click on this bottom, and what's going to happen is now our buttons will always be 76. They'll always be 76 pixels from the bottom. So that's what that 76 means. So I'll add that constraint, and once I add that, those red lines should go away, and they do. Okay, so I'm going to run this again, and while it's running, I will. I'm going to come over here in my view did load. Actually, I'm going to come over here in my view controller first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag from one of these buttons. I'm going to drag over here. And what I'm actually going to do is not create an IB outlet. Okay, and to do this, let me explain if you don't know. You can click on the button, control drag, and you can control drag to get a outlet collection. You can also do an action or an outlet. We're actually going to use an outlet collection, and we're going to call this calc buttons. Okay. And it is connecting, and there it is. Cool. Okay, so we're going to come down here inside of our view did load. Now basically this function, or this method, sorry, we'll ignore that for now. Basically that's just our simulator, don't worry about that. All we need to do inside of view did load is we need to create a for loop and loop through these buttons here. So we're going to say for button in calc buttons, like that, and come down here. No, sorry. For button in calc buttons. Okay. I was thinking about Java. I was thinking about an enhanced for loop in Java. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to say button.frame.size, and this basically is saying we want to set the frame dots. Actually, we don't really need to do that because we set it all to 80. But if you wanted to, we could set the size to 80 here. But we actually don't need to do that because we already set the size. What we actually need to do is say button.layer.corner radius, and we're going to set this equal to. Now you could just do 80 divided by 2. Okay, but what we'll do is, just to be safe, we'll do button.frame.size.height divided by 2. And basically what that does is it says, and let me cancel out of this pane over here, we don't need any more. And basically what that does is it says, okay, we want to take the height of the button, divide it by 2, and that's what the corner radius to be. So that should give us a pretty perfect circle. So let's run that now and take a look. In the meantime, while it's running, I'm also going to set the font on that 0 to be even higher because it just looks so tiny up there. Okay, so there we go, and that's actually pretty good. It looks probably stupid because all the other ones aren't that way, but that's very fixable. All we have to do now is just click on this IB outlet and just drag it to the rest of our buttons. And this takes a couple seconds. And basically what this outlet collection does, it says we're going to loop through all the buttons and just give those buttons the and there we go. Okay, so we'll run that one more time. I know it's going to give us what we want, so we won't bother looking at it. You know what, we will just real quick. And there we go. Not bad. So basically all of our buttons are in the center. It's actually, the spacing's pretty good. It's all good. I'm happy with that. Okay, so let's move this over here. We don't really need it right now, so we'll get Xcode back up. And it's time for us to actually start creating the real calculator. So this first button is actually going to be the, where is it? We want to go to the text, and instead of it saying button, it's going to be clear. All right. This button we're actually not even going to be using, so we can delete that. And this is actually, this button grew to 2, but we actually wanted this one to grow to 2. So we'll handle that in a second. This button here, for we're going to start down and counting down from 9. So we're going to go 9, or I think it's 7, 8, 9 actually. If I think about it, it's 7, and I could be totally wrong. I'm not looking at a picture of a calculator right now. I'm just trying to remember how the app looks. And this one is 9. And also, it would have been really helpful, to tell you the truth, if I would have set a larger font size on these buttons. So we'll do that at the very end because that is just going to be a waste of time. And this also should be 5 right here. This one over here should have been a 4. And this one here will be a 6. Actually, what we can do is we can come in here, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to say button dot, I think it's title label, it's an optional, dot font equals what's the word, UI font, and that's going to take in a name, and so we just want like system, let's see, I don't usually set it here. and the size will be, we'll set that to like 24. It needs to be a float. We have a question mark here, by the way, because this is an optional. Okay. We'll just set this to a string of system. I'm not exactly sure if that'll work, but we'll give it a try. So let's run that real quick. Let's hope we don't think we're going to get any errors. And let's just see if our button font is bigger. Looks like our app actually is crashing. So, oh no, there we go. Okay, good. So it liked what we did. Perfect. Okay, and this calculator looks kind of weird, honestly, but that's okay. We're gonna work on it. Hopefully, I have the number order right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish adding in the correct number for these buttons. So click on that button right there, and then we need to change that to a 1. Click on this button, make it a 2, and you know, I really don't think I'm doing this correctly, honestly. I think I'm actually missing a row of buttons. I don't know. I think I'll see what I have at the end of the project here. Okay, so what we want to do is we actually want to make this clear button the big one because that's how it is on the calculator, I'm pretty sure. So what we're going to do is come here, and instead of this horizontal constraint being a width of 80, we're actually going to set it to 160. And that'll make that the big button, okay? And this one here, that's fine. Make sure that's 80. So they're both 80. So let me just run that and see what we get. And good. Okay, good. So that's the clear. And if we need to do any more, we'll do some more. Okay. This button here, I don't know what order they're in, so I'm just going to start adding like the operators in now. So this is going to be plus, minus, divide, times, and this will be equals down here. And I have no idea if that's perfect, but you know what? That's how we're going to do it. So here, this will be, we'll do plus, and then here we'll do a minus. Here we'll do a multiply. You can put an X, just put an X, why not? And then here we'll put divide, and then here we'll put an equals. Alright, cool. Sounds good. We are good to go. I'm not worried about the constraints because it's loading up very fine on our simulator. You can fix those if you'd like. That looks good. Not bad. It's not perfect, but it's going to do for now. Cool. Okay, so let's get back to work. Now we actually need to start writing the logic for this calculator. So what we're going to do is we need to think about all the variables that we would need to create at first for our calculator. So our calculator has a first number, right? So like right when you type in a number, it has a second number. So that's like after you hit an operator. It has, I can actually put all these on one line. A second number. It has an operator. So basically like, you know, did you hit plus? Did you hit minus? Did you hit equals? Do we have a result? Because, you know, after you know, if you have a number or like you do 9 plus 9 and, you know, then you have 18, then you want to make sure that you know that you have a result so that the next time you add a number, it's, you know, it knows it's adding by the result that you just tallied. We need an actual result. So we need the result number, and then we need a number after a result. And that actually should be good. I think that's all we're going to need. So let's get started. We're going to say var first num. It's going to be a type of string, and we're going to set it equal to an empty string. We'll say var operation, which will also be a string, and we're going to set that equal to an empty string. I'm pretty sure operator is a word we can't use in Swift. I think it's a keyword. One of them's like a keyword. Var second num, which is going to be a type of string, and kind of get the idea. We're just going to get these out of the way. Var have result, which is also a type of string, is going to equal an empty string. Oh no, sorry. Have result is actually going to be a Boolean, and we can set that equal to false because we do not have the result yet. Okay, and then now the result number will be a string. So result number will be a type of string. We'll set that equal to false, and var num after result is also a type of string, and we'll set that equal to an empty string. And you'll see I just did what I did for have result. I set this to false, and I actually wanted to set this to an empty string. Sorry, when you move fast, kind of stuff happens. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now we need to get this label up here. Basically, we're going to drag this over, and we can put this, I'll put it below my variables. And basically what I'm going to do is this is just going to be an outlet, and I'll call this num on screen. Okay, and that's good. So now basically we're going to create a method for when we click on a number for any of these buttons. So what we actually have to do is we have to create for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We need to create an IB action. So I'll drag it over from 1, and I'll drag it down here, and we're going to create an action, and we're just going to say number num pressed will work, and we'll set it to a type of UI button because we're going to want to be able to add and we're going to want to be able to access the tag.sender or sender.tag, sorry, and we'll connect it. Okay, cool. And we will see what we're going to do there in just a second. So let's come down here, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to create a method that we will put inside of you know what, we'll just put the method right inside here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to say if the operation, which is our string up here, so if that's equal to an empty string, which means we don't have any type of operator yet, which means we haven't hit the plus, minus, times, or divide, basically what we're going to do is we're just going to set first num plus equal to first num. Okay, so if we don't have a first num, then we're just going to take an empty string, and we're just going to sorry, that's actually not right. First num plus equals sender dot tag. Now you're probably wondering what this sender dot tag is, and we need to kind of check this out real quick. We need to convert this to a string. Okay, and that's how you convert something to a string in Swift. You just do string in front of it with the parentheses. Now also we need to make sure that this IB action right here is working for all of our buttons. So we're just going to drag it to each button real quick, just for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just for all the numbers. Okay, so this tag right here is basically a property that each button can have. So if I click on this button and I scroll down to here to where it says view, 1 is going to have a tag of 1, 2 will have a tag of 2, and basically this is just an int. Okay, I don't know what I just did right there. Oh, I just clicked the button. There we go. 3, and then we need to set each one depending on the number of the button. So basically this will allow us to click on a button and get an actual number depending on what button we hit. So we need to make sure the tag is set equal to the number on the button, because if it wasn't, we'd get some funky results. And this one we want to set it equal to 9. Okay, so we're just going to make sure this works. So we're going to get first num, we're going to set first num equals to, or plus equals to string. So basically when you use plus equals, that's just saying first num is, so if we have a first num, so if it's like 1, then it's going to be plus equals to the next button we hit, so it'll be like 1, 2, and since this is a string and first num's a string, it'll be doing like a string of 1 plus a string of 2, which will give us 12. Okay, so if I'll comment that so you see it. So if we have an empty string and then we just we plus a string of 1, then it's just going to be equal to 1. Okay, and that's going to show up on our number on screen. All right, so to do that, we're actually going to have to say num on screen dot text equals first num. Okay, and we're going to be seeing us do that a lot. Okay, and also that's actually good. So let me show you. This should actually work right now. So when we click numbers, we should actually get what we're looking for. And believe it or not, we're actually almost done. Honestly, the setup is a lot worse than anything else. So when we click on this, now if we see like 1 and then 2, 3, 4, yep. So we're getting exactly what we want. Hopefully that makes sense. We can't clear these, so real quick, I'm just going to set the clear IB action up just so we can clear it if we're ever playing around with it. And basically what we're going to do on clear is just basically set all these back to the defaults. So we're just going to hit say clear, and that'll work. We can set it to type of any, it doesn't matter. And then basically what we're going to do is everything that's here we can just copy, bring down, and then it's going to take us a couple seconds because we have to delete the var and all that stuff. So I'm not going to fast forward through this. You're welcome to if you want to. There we go. Almost done. Now I just need to delete these. And last one. Okay, so basically now they're all set to their default values, and that is exactly what we wanted. So that's basically like having a clear. It's basically we start all over again. All right, and when we hit that button, everything will clear now. But we won't check that out because I trust that that's going to work. I'll show you that in a couple minutes. Okay. So, okay, let's come back up here to num pressed. So if we have an operation, okay, so we'll say, so else if we operation, so basically we'll just check if it's not equal to an empty string. So if it's not equal to an empty string, that means we have an operation. Okay, and we'll say and, sorry, I hit double asterisk, and we'll say if we don't have a result. So if we don't have a result, then now we're going to be accessing the second number. Okay, so if you do like 1, or say we want to do like 12. So we hit 12, and then we hit plus, so then operation is no longer equal to an empty string, so this would run, but we don't have a result yet, because have result will only come when we hit equals right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say, do the same exact thing for what we did above. So we'll say second, and I wrote second number, but that's actually a little bit of an issue because here I wrote first num, but here I wrote second number. So let's change this to second num just so we don't have any type of naming inconsistency, because eventually I'll mess up, and it's very important that you don't have any naming inconsistencies like that. It's my fault. So we'll say second num plus equal to string sender dot tag, just like we did before. And then once again, we're going to set num on screen dot text equal to second num. Okay. You'll see what's going on here in just a second if you have no idea what's going on. Okay. And now that's actually all we need to do for this button clicked right now. Okay. And yep, that's good. So the last thing we need to do is, and this is going to be the really messy part, but really this is all that we have to worry about. That's pretty much going to give us any trouble, is this equals function now. And what we'll actually do before that is we'll just set up the really basic. This will be really simple. Basically, we're just going to set up, I'll bring these to the top. These are all going to be actions. And this one will be, we'll just say add. Okay, so each of these buttons has to have an IB action because, where's that at right here? Basically, they need to have an action because we need to tell what the operation is. So the operation is going to be equal to plus. Okay, and then here, drag that in. You know what, you can just type it too and then drag it over. You don't have to control drag it, but I guess it makes it easier. And we'll call this subtract. And that was crazy looking, but it's okay. Just give us some room here. Cool. And I'll give us some room from this one too. And then here we're just going to say operation equals minus, and then we'll keep going. So we have two more. This one's going to be multiply. So we'll bring this over and we'll say multiply. It's kind of like the annoying thing about iOS. The setup definitely takes a little bit more time than Android. And we're just going to set it equal to an X. And then we have one more. And that is the divide. And then we'll also bring equals over after we're done, just so that we don't have to come back and create any more. And all you're going to do in here is, of course, just set the operation equal to divide. Now, we probably could have used the char too if we wanted to, because these are just single, little characters in here. But to be honest, didn't really think about it until now. So we'll just keep a string. Doesn't matter. It's just practice. And in here, we'll just hit equals. Okay. We'll get back to this equals in a minute. This is going to be a little bit of a handful. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come all the way down here and I'm going to create a method. I'm just going to call it do operation. So I'm going to say func. So that's how you declare a function. You're going to say do operation. All right, you can call it whatever you want. You're going to use these parentheses because that's what you do to declare a method or function in Swift. And it's going to have a return type of a double so that we can get decimals inside of our answer over here. Okay, so that's good. And then basically use this little arrow, this minus, and then greater than sign. Then you specify the type of return. Then you use the brackets like that, and we're good to go. Okay, so this method is probably going to get a little wacky, but basically we're going to say if the operation is equal to plus, then we know that, well, we actually want to check first if we have a result. So if we don't have a result, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set have result, and I have a typo there, equal to true. Okay, and I'll explain why in a second, I promise. And then down here, we're just going to return this double. We're going to return a double that's actually first num, so our first number, and then it's going to be, we actually have to unwrap that, and then we'll do it because it was an optional, and then we'll do a double of type second num, which we're also going to have to unwrap. Okay, basically what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, do we have a result? If we don't have a result, now we do, so set it to true, and our result is basically going to be first num plus second num. Okay, it's not going to be the number after result or the result number. We're not worried about those right now because we do not have a this is just if we don't have a result. Okay, and then else what we can do, if we do have a result, we're just going to return a double. Once again, we're going to have to unwrap it, but it's going to be result number, and we'll unwrap that, and then plus double num after. So we don't have result number or num after result right now. We can go create num after result right now, though. Where that we're going to get that is up here if we do have a result and the operation is not equal to an empty string. So then we can just say else if operation is not equal to empty string and we have the result. And then we can come down here and then we can just say, we'll say num after result plus equals, same thing we did above, string sender dot tag, and we'll say num on screen dot text equals num after result. Cool. Okay. Come back down here, and then basically we just have to do this for plus, or for minus, and divide and multiply. So we're going to do some copy and pasting in a second. So we'll say else if we don't have the result again, and then we'll set have result equal to true. Basically, we're going to do the same thing we did above, and you can copy and paste this if you want. We'll just return once again the double of first num, and oh, I have an error here. So we don't want the else if to be that. We want it to be like this. Move these over like that. We actually want to say else if operation equals minus. So we need to make sure that this operation here, since it's plus, so this bracket should be going to, sorry, I have a little bit of an error here. I got to fix this up. So we actually want to bring that bracket in here, hit enter, bring this there, and then we can delete one of these. Sorry if that totally messed you up. I apologize. I would edit it out, but I just feel like that's, you know, that's kind of fake. Okay, so this is good now. This is actually good. So basically we're just saying, and I need to add a bracket there, and then we're good. My brackets are all messed up. So let's check it out. Yep. I think I need one more. There we go. Really? These look so bad now. That's so embarrassing. All right, that's okay. It actually, I think it's okay. I'll check on it in a minute. So we're going to return double minus double, because now we need to do the subtraction, because the operation is subtraction. So double, I told you there was an extra one. I thought that was too many. Sorry, this is the last thing you want is bracket trouble. That's so bad. Double, and then second num, like that. Okay, and then hopefully we can get these brackets shaped up a little bit. We'll say, so if we don't have a result, or so if we do have a result, now we're going to say return double result number, which we really won't get until the end because we haven't, you'll see where we're going to get the result number from. Num, not plus, sorry, minus double num after result. And we're going to unwrap that. Okay, so this is clearly a hefty function here, and there might be a better way to do this, but I just wanted to get there as quick as possible. And down here, oh no, again? Wow, this is terrible. Okay, there we go. And then we're just going to copy and paste this one more time. And we'll be done with all of our troubles. And this function, you could break this up for sure. In my Android one, I actually did. And to tell you the truth, I kind of regret not doing it here, but I thought it made it more confusing in the Android video. But you know what, I'm thinking that I might have been wrong. Maybe it's just because I had that bracket trouble. Okay, and then after all of this, so this is actually all good. So now, basically all that we're going to do, so inside of this main function, if none of these are true, then we're just going to return a 0. Because we need to return something inside of here. And this function just looks so ugly because my formatting got so messed up. So I'm going to try to fix it up real quick. All right, that's not terrible. I need to bring these over a little bit, but overall, not bad. All right, I'll fix them, or you can fix them if you'd like. Basically, I'll run through this real quick to kind of explain what's going on here once I fix my formatting. And that's fine. It doesn't, we'll move that over a little bit. We'll move this over too. Okay, that's not bad. Looks a little bit better now. So basically we're doing an operation, and this is basically what we're going to do when we hit equals. All right, so operation is going to be equal to whatever number we want to show up here. So if the operation is plus, then basically we're going to check if we have a result. If we do have a result, or if we don't have a result, then we know that we just still have our first number and our second number, and that we don't have to use a result number, because if we don't have a result, then there's no such thing as a result number. Okay? And basically it's the same thing for the rest. It just got messy because we had to copy and paste. Okay, at the end we have to return a 0 because we have to make sure that we just return something. You can return just any double there. Okay, because hopefully we'll have this operation. If they hit equals without the operation, you're just going to return 0. Okay, so believe it or not, we're actually almost done. And now we just need to work on the equals up here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to set the result number equal to the string of the returned double that we get from do operation. Okay, so don't forget do operation is going to return us a double, right? So now that the result number that we're going to need, right? Because I said we need result number, but we never set it to anything. So now the result number will just be equal to, that's up here, sorry. The result number will just be equal to whatever we get from that operation, okay? And that'll always work. And then what we're actually going to want to do is we're just going to say num on screen dot text is going to be equal to result number, okay? And then the last thing we're going to want to do after each operation is we're going to want to say num after result equals an empty string again. Because if we were to do, it's kind of tough to explain, but basically if we did like 11 plus 11 and then we got equals 22, well then if we did plus 11 again, we would get 33, and then if we did plus 11 again, it would do 11 plus 11, and it would give us like a really crazy number. So basically you have to make sure you set this num after result equal to an empty string each time you hit the equals. If you don't, you can get some really wacky answers, and you can even check that out. Leave this out if you're interested why we have to do this. For time's sake, to not waste your time, I'll let you guys do that on your own if you're interested. Okay, and this actually should work. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but it succeeded, and it's up. So we'll do 8 times 6, and we get, oh, brilliant, 0.0. So that's what we're looking for, right? So let's see. If our result return double, I mean, that looks... Turning. It's the operation. Did I not set the operations? No, I did. Oh, you know what? That's the problem. So I checked if the operation was equal to an asterisk, and it actually needs to be equal to an X. Okay, so that is funny, but okay, now I'm predicting that it will work. But I could definitely be wrong after my last blunder right there. 9 times 7 equals 63. Now you'll see 63.0, that's because we're using doubles. We can fix that in a second. Now we'll say plus 8, and we should get 71.0. Then we could say times 6, whatever, 426. Okay, so that clearly works. The calculations are working great. We'll do divide, and then we'll do like divided by 8. 53.25. So that's great. The problem is that when we hit clear, nothing's happening, and actually something is happening. We're just not changing the. We just have to set the num on screen dot text equal to a string of 0. Okay, and okay, there's one more thing we want to do just to make this look a little bit more official, because what we don't want is for if we do like 8 plus 8, we don't want to get 16.0, okay? So what we actually want to get is just 16. So the way we could do this, and there's actually a bunch of ways to do this, but this is the way I'm going to do it. We're going to go to equals, and then we're going to set, we'll say, let num array equal result number dot components, and then we're going to say separated by, and we'll say a dot. Okay, basically what this is going to do is if we have an array, if we have a dot in there, so like 16.0, pretty much we're always going to have a dot actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to set, and I'll show you what this looks like. So we can print, you can print num array if you want. Okay, so, oh, sorry, like this, num array. So if we print num array, I'll run this real quick to show you. And this should show up down here. And of course, it's not going to show up until we click a button on our simulator. So if we do 8 plus 8, then we'll see we have two arrays now, or we have two elements in this array. Here's our num array, it's 16 and then 0. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to say if num array 1 is just equal to a string of 0, then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set num on screen dot text equal to num array 0. That's probably really confusing, but if you kind of think about it, so what we're saying is that we're going to separate our number on a dot. So think about it like this. If we have 16.0, we're going to separate this into two elements inside of an array, and we're going to separate it on the dot. So if we have like 16.1, then this won't run right here. Okay, only if we separate on the dot and then just have 1, 0. So if we have 16.0, then basically what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, we just want this part right here. We just want this 16, and that is the first element inside of this array. Okay, and if it doesn't equal that, then basically what we want is we just want to say num on screen is just going to equal the whole result number. Okay, and that is, sorry, num on screen dot text. And that will work. We can actually delete this down here. Okay, like that. Num after result, we want it to be set back no matter what. Okay, so let's run this, and I think we're done. So that last part's a little confusing, but if you kind of like break it down, hopefully it makes sense. So if we do 8 plus 8, we should just get 16 now, and we do. But if we do divide by 3, we should get 5.33333. All right, so that's perfect. And you'll look, it fits, and it goes across. That's good. 4 plus 9, right? So we get 13. So basically we see it's 13 and then 0. So if you look down here, it's still printing these out. So 16.0, basically we just leave off the 0 because we checked. We said, hey, if this second element in the array is 0, now here it's like, okay, it's not a 0, so we just want to set it equal to this whole result number, which we get up here. Okay, so that's it for this video. I know it was a little hectic, and I feel really bad about how messy this function got down here. If you watch my Android video that I did the other day, basically I wrote like a bunch of different functions for add and multiply and subtract and divide, and I thought that got a little confusing, so I tried to do it a little bit differently. Definitely tough with a function this big. Okay, alright, so that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, if you did watch, and if you didn't, well then that's fine too. Anyway, see you guys later.